Welcome to the Body Smart Podcast, where we remove roadblocks to fitness and health to empower you to master your health habits. We help you become body smart.
We are excited to welcome you to another edition of How to Avoid and Overcome Injuries by training Body Smart, by becoming body smart and training the body smart way. So, the topic that we wanted to hit today to help people become body smart is to base your health and fitness decisions on solid principles, not on fads. So we tend to follow the fads. There's always some new fitness fad coming out that gets people to want to move and do things and whatnot, but it is usually not the right way to go for your health and fitness. Those fitness fads don't always add up to what we want them to. And so we like to make sure that people are doing things in a way that's healthy, that's based on their body, that's based on what will help them accomplish their goals the best, and not just on, hey, this is really cool, or there was this one research study. That's usually how somebody comes up with an idea, they do some research on it, and those early research articles are somewhat biased, and so they wind up getting the result that they hope to get, and so not a great way to do research, and we wind up with fitness fads that have some early research supporting them, and then the rest of the research coming out later is not so great, and kind of dispels that myth again. And so, unfortunately, the only two things that have passed the test of time are, slow, steady cardio and strength training. And with mixing in some faster stuff, some harder workouts to maintain your athleticism and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just putting in the time and building the strength so that you keep the machine strong enough to do the work. So that's basically what we're talking about today. We want to make sure that you're basing those things off concrete principles and values and not just on fitness fads. So let's talk about the values. So we want to talk about the values that you're basing those principles on, that you're following, why fads always fail, and then what the shortcut is to fitness. And so deciding on your values, this is something that Mark talks about a lot, and that is really near and dear to his heart, and I think is really important, that concept of making sure that you're living according to the values and the principles that you want to live by in your life. I think so many of us, myself included, at times get caught up in the inertia of life, and it's easy just to kind of let life dictate how we do things and what we're doing and how we're doing everything in our life. And so by sitting down and establishing some core principles, some core values that you want to live by, some core ideas of who you want to be and how you want to be, that really gives you a framework then to make decisions off of, to compare against when making decisions. And so some of the values that I think people need to switch in their mindset, kind of a mindset shift, is stop being quite as concerned about the aesthetics of how you look, and that fitness isn't about being skinny or fat, that it's not about being an Ironman or a champion ultra marathoner or marathoner or whatever. It's not about the accomplishment so much. It's about living life on your terms. It's about being able to do the things that you love to do and keep doing that for as long as you want to be able to do that. It's taking control of who's making the decisions in your life. Those are the types of values that will help you lead a more fulfilled life. Will help you really go after and pursue and spend your time on the things that are more lasting and worthwhile and bring about lasting change. A lot of the kind of immediate things that we chase after tend to build short-term gains as well. And so they're fleeting gains, whether that's, I want to lose a bunch of weight for this cruise versus I'm going to lead a healthy, active lifestyle and let that help me maintain a healthy body weight. The difference in those two mindsets is huge. The one, you're going to have to lose that 15 pounds for every single cruise you go on. And the problem is you'll lose 15 and gain 20 back. And as time goes on, you're going to wind up in a bigger and bigger rut to have to climb out of. And so if we can base it on like, I want to lead a healthy, active lifestyle, and weight loss will just be the natural result of that healthy, active lifestyle, or maintaining a healthy weight will be the natural result of that. That's really the place we want to get to, is where the principles that we're living by are foundational things that help guide the decisions we make on a day-to-day basis, that guide the lifestyle we're leading, instead of just jumping from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next. So awesome. We've got some more people joining on. It's great to see you in here. If we lead our life by those principles, then it makes it easier too to take new things, the new fads that come out, and compare them against our core principles and say, does this really match up? So we always say fads always fail. And the reason that fads always fail is because they're very fleeting. They're typically based on quicker results, the quick fix, trying to find a way to get healed faster, to get skinny faster, to get faster, whatever that is, to get your results faster than you otherwise would. And unfortunately, our bodies just don't work that way. We've been kind of shaped, designed, if you will, by thousands of years of our ancestors just surviving, earning every meal that they ate through slow, steady, consistent exercise and effort. They didn't necessarily even consider it exercise. They just kept moving. And so that's how our body is shaped and formed, and what it's used to, if you will. And so the quick fixes don't really work because our body's designed for the long haul. And so we may be able to lose a fair amount of weight, or we may be able to increase our fitness really rapidly in a 30-day blast, but there's always a trade-off. There's always consequences. We tend to slow our metabolism down with fast weight loss. So then we wind up gaining all that weight back, especially when we go back to our normal, whatever normal diet was for that person. And so we wind up gaining that back with interest, because now we're eating the same way we did before that got us those extra 15 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever. Plus, we're doing so with a slower metabolism. Or with a fitness fad, a 30-day blast of some sort or another, a 30-day challenge. The problem with that is you may not have been, working out every day of the week for 30 days prior in your life. And so if you went from 3 days a week of exercise or 4 days a week of exercise to 30 days straight, your body's going to tell you that it didn't love that. It's going to feel beat up. It's going to feel worn down. And so your likelihood of maintaining that level of intensity long term is going to be a lot less. And so, people will say, well, I just want to get the weight off and then I'll work on the maintenance. That's great and all. Statistics would suggest that doesn't happen. That life is just too complicated. There are too many curveballs that get thrown at us. And so to assume that we can do something really extreme, really feel terrible at the end and not like it, and then try to change when we're in that mindset of this is awful, I'm hangry all the time, or my body's super beat up because I did this, this streak. That was a really popular thing after COVID and into 2021. Haven't seen it as much this year, but streaking in your running, right? Where you try to string together several days in a row. Like I had a 90-day streak. That's great, but how is your body feeling? And are you feeling so beat up that you're not likely, after that 90-day streak is over, to continue? Or, if you need to take weeks off afterward, or you wind up with an injury because of that streak, what was the point of all of that? If you have to take the next 6 or 8 weeks off, then that streak really didn't benefit your health and fitness all that terribly much, because you're having to start over. So basing those decisions instead of on fads and those trends that come through on Instagram and Facebook, whether that's keto or whether that's streaking, or whatever that is. And we're talking streaking, like streaking a series of days together, not running in public areas naked. The thing is with any of those fads is they're just kind of doomed to fail because they're not based on your life and lifestyle. And so that type of a thing, just it's doomed to fail, because whenever you start something, it kind of automatically implies that you're going to finish it at some point in time. So you really have to ask yourself, this thing that I'm starting, is it really in line with the principles and values that are going to help me for long-term success? Oh, perfect. So Jordan says he just finished the intro course into the intuitive eating course from Julie Hansen, which is an awesome course. And he's saying this is all ringing true. Yeah, weight loss should be that natural effect of eating intuitively, of eating according to your body and eating like the way that you feel best for your body. We have to discover that for ourselves. There's no one size fits all plan. And that's part of kind of our message here at Becoming Body Smart, and why every one of you will get like your own customized plan, is because everybody's different. Every schedule is different. Everybody's work and life and family life is different. So we need to customize that to you. That's exactly right, Jordan. It's about being in tune with your body. Thanks for the love, the smiley face, Debbie. The streaking. When that first started coming out on Instagram, I started seeing people, or on Facebook, in Facebook groups, people talking about their streaking. I was like, streaking, but it was not what I thought initially. I agree. Being in tune with your body is an important thing. It takes time to do that, quite frankly. I struggle. There's a couple of like trigger situations for me. One is around pizza, anytime in any place around pizza. Really struggle with pizza, where I just can't stop myself. And then another is at my parents' house. Whenever I go back to my parents' house, I eat like I'm 17 again. It's the weirdest thing, but I will gain like 5 pounds in one meal at their place because I eat like I'm 17 again. I don't know why I can't turn that off in my brain. And so that intuitive eating, it takes time. It takes figuring out, okay, what are the things that I can do when I go over to my parents' house to avoid falling back into those same traps. And so I'm still working on that. I'm not perfect. Some days I do better than others. This last time they had olive oil cake, which sounds a little gross, but tasted amazing. Probably 1,000 calories a bite. I don't know. I ate way too much of it, and then I felt sick for the rest of the day. But I still, there's just things where I can't put it down at their house for some reason. It's so weird. It does. I agree, Jordan. It does take a lot of concentration at first, because you have to deal with the emotions, the logistics often of it, to be able to say, okay, this is my new normal that I'm striving for. And that, I think, one of the biggest keys of not following the fad versus following core principles is, with following core principles, you can take a bite at a time of that thing you're trying to accomplish and just do it stepwise. You can say, okay, I'm going to work on this 1% change at a time and build and build and build on that, because it's based on foundational principles. Whereas if I base it on a fad, the fads usually are fairly extreme. They want us to do something big, this big sweeping change overnight. Like, I think you should go eat keto. What does that even mean? How do I do that? How do I go eat lunch with my friends or colleagues, or whatever, take my wife out for a date and eat keto? I know there's a way to do it, but that's not my current lifestyle. And so learning that is going to be a much harder curve than if I said, okay, I think keto might work for me. And I'm not saying or advocating that at all. But if that was something you wanted to try, saying, okay, over the next month, I'm going to try to increase how many, healthy, high protein, high fat foods I'm eating, and swap out a couple of, less healthy, more refined carbohydrate-based foods. So I'm going to take some time to start switching different options out so that over the next month I've made progress in that direction, and then maybe over the next 6 months I'll be eating keto 80% of the time. That would be a better way of transitioning to that than just this cold turkey overnight thing. We're just not going to stick with it. We're going to get frustrated. It's going to be so extreme on our body. Your body's not going to like it. And that's what leads to a lot of failure. I've seen studies anywhere between 93% and 98% of all diets fail. So basically, it's a statistical guarantee that it's going to fail. And we're not just talking diets. We're talking actually avoiding injury. And so I would argue, though, that the same fitness fads that come out pose the same risk of failure and the same problem. People go join the gym. How many of them stick through January? They go join the gym and they hop in all the different classes and whatever and wind up with an injury. When I worked at the gym, I can't tell you how many people I saw that got injured, not because of the class per se, but got injured participating in the class just because they went from 0 to 100, felt the social pressure to keep up, and then were doing moves that they weren't really prepared for, didn't have the strength or stability for, and really didn't have the instruction that they needed often. That one-on-one instruction to make sure that their form was good and stuff like that. And some instructors are really great and help with the form elements and stuff. I'm not trying to bag on that. I'm just saying it may not be that kind of quick start idea may not be the best way to improve your fitness. If you incorporate that as one of the things you do on a cross-training day into your total fitness routine because it's fun and motivating and you like it, doing a high fit class or a body pump class or whatever every so often, that's totally fine. I'm not against that, but doing that as your core piece of your fitness may wind up sabotaging your end goal and end result. So, so the fads, they tend to always fail because it's just this fly-by-night thing. So we want to base it on those foundational principles, because really, I would argue that one of those principles you should really consider making one of your core values or core principles that you live by is consistency. We talked about earlier, I was going to give you the one shortcut to healthy living, the one shortcut to, changing your health and making your health improve and get better over time is being consistent. And I know that sounds weird, like that's not really a shortcut. It's doing it day in, day out for the rest of my life. Exactly. But that will get you better, faster results than anything else, because you'll actually make progress day after day after day. When we do this, big start, stop, big start, stop, we wind up, taking such a backslide every time we stop that we never really build on the progress we made in our big leap forward. And so if we're not building on that progress, we're really, it's kind of one step forward, 2 steps back mentality. So we want to switch that up to where you're creating principles to live by that help you keep moving forward, that help you keep taking those forward steps. Now, life is going to throw curveballs at you 100%. Like, you're going to have things thrown at you that knock you back, that make it harder, that totally derail things to some degree. But if you base your life on those core principles of healthy, active living, and of who you want to be and who you want to be for the people that you love, it allows you to get back on track faster. It allows you to absorb those hits from life a lot easier and just incorporate that new thing, that new schedule, whether that's becoming an empty nester, whether that's, your kids went from kindergarten into first grade and now you have different time, not necessarily more time, just different time. Or now all your kids, for us, all of our kids are getting out of elementary and into junior high and high school, and now we have drivers in the house. And so our dynamic is changing, where like all of a sudden our evenings are still packed with games, but we don't necessarily have to get every kid to every game. We have helpers to drive, and that changes our schedule. That changes what we're able to do. It's like, oh, I can actually do an evening run now because I can drop a kid off at the game and somebody else is taking the other kid to their practice, and so we're good. And I can, while they're warming up for their game, I can go on a short run and I can get my fitness in then. I can modify things according to those principles and build that consistency of those habits of every day I'm going to do something for my health and fitness. Every day I'm going to choose what I'm going to eat ahead of time so that I'm not put in a situation where I have to choose the cheapest, easiest, kind of lowest available option. Instead, I'm going to plan it out so that I can make healthy decisions, so that I can set myself up for success. Honestly, that's one of the best ways to avoid injury and overcome those injuries as well, is live off of those key principles. And so you're not doing those sprints forward where we get an injury or get those niggles and then have to drop back. And so the consistency really keeps us healthier, helps us maintain a healthy body weight, and really helps us make progress and move forward instead of kind of always feeling like every year we're dropping off a little bit as we get older. Instead, we want to feel like we're maintaining our fitness or even improving on our fitness as we get older, especially as we have more time or more availability of time and money and resources. Like that should be a time where we can invest more in ourselves and invest more in our health. And the key is you have to establish those core values now to help you be able to do that. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions along those lines about any fitness fads that you've heard of, that you've been considering, or that you want to try? Any questions about how to be consistent, or any other like core values questions, anything along those lines, or just anything about any injuries or pain problems that you've had? I'll give you a sec to make a comment there. Yeah, moderation in all things. So Jordan says, what you're saying is moderation in all things. I don't know about moderation in all things. I like that principle, except for somebody once said, well, so like, what's a moderate amount of cocaine? So I get what you're saying with the moderation in all things, but I thought that was a really funny take on it. Yeah, I guess there's no moderate amount of cocaine that would be okay. But moderation for sure, but planning all things, like having a plan, doing things with intention versus, Mark and I have talked about this ad nauseum, the decisions versus reactions. Just trying to live life with a bit more intention. So where we sit down and say, hey, what are the principles I want to live by? What are the main things I want to accomplish in my life? Like I have 24 hours in a day. What do I want to use those for? And can I take that time and make sure that I'm utilizing it wisely? And yeah, like you said, steady progress. Jordan, that's exactly right. It's just the steady progress. It's not dropping completely off the face of the earth because of whether that's pain, whether that's just life hectic, big shifts, whether we've moved or done other things. Like it's just about being consistent. And the more you can be consistent, the more you'll see progress. And the more it'll snowball. Like that's why that's the shortcut, is that progress builds and builds and builds. And the more of those little moments that you get right in your life, life is just a series of little moments. And so the conversation you have with your spouse before leaving in the morning, the first 10 minutes that you get to work, all of those things, if you use those times effectively, your exercise and fitness time, if you use those times effectively, if you set the dominoes up to be successful in those little snippets of time, the snowball effect of all of those things going well make your entire life run better. I'm not perfect at that by any stretch. I'm not a great planner or organizer. So that's something I'm personally working on is setting the dominoes up for myself to build that consistency better and be more consistent and be able to have that success in all the areas of my life, with my family, with my kids, with my work, in church, all those things, that I can be the type of person I want to be for those things. And a lot of that has to do with setting up those core values, not following the winds of change every 2 seconds, and then living by those principles consistently. It's a struggle. We're all on that struggle bus. But the more we push forward and stop following the fads and just stick with what we know works, which is essentially do your best to eat real foods, eat a healthy diet, and keep moving, do that strength training, and those things build toward healthy life and honestly help with all the other aspects of life too. Stress is better, sleep is better, all those things when we get our regular exercise and healthy nutrition in. and then we can knock all those other dominoes down as well. So hopefully that was helpful. Definitely drop any questions, comments, things that you might have, either in this chat or in the group chat under the Avoiding Injury. We'd love to answer any questions that people have so that you don't have to have those setbacks. So that 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it's only like a shuffle back and we can keep moving forward, that there's no real stopping. We're just moving forward and building that consistency. And that's what this group is all about, is helping you build that consistency, is interrupting those interruptions before they become big breaks in your life so we can keep you moving forward in the direction you want to go. So thanks so much for joining us on the call today. I'm sorry for starting a little bit late. Technical difficulties again. I'll make sure next time when I schedule it that the time that I set really did post. If not, I'll have to delete it and do a new one. But it wouldn't let me hop on the call until about 5 minutes before because of the previously scheduled call. So we'll get that right next time, and looking forward to seeing you on the next call. Look for, in our Facebook group tomorrow, we've got an interview for our podcast, so you'll get kind of the podcast preview. We've got an interview from a runner, really awesome guy that we're going to talk to tomorrow to go over kind of his running story, all the races he's run, and the struggles that he's had to overcome that. So that'll be in our Keeping Runners on the Road Facebook group, and we'll post that on the podcast later as well. So awesome stuff. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next call.
Thanks for listening to the Body Smart podcast. Join us in the Body Smart community on Facebook to share your successes or ask a question for our next episode. Now get out there and take the next step toward living your active lifestyle.